Alphonso Davies to Madrid seems to be over. It seems to be confirmed. A lot of reports have been saying it. Whether that is Spanish report close to Real Madrid or the German reports has pretty much been saying that Alphonso Davies will be signing a contract this January, which will allow him to go as a free agent for this summer. A lot of clubs wanted him. Manchester City wanted him. Barcelona wanted him, Paris Saint-Germain wanted him, and more other clubs in the Premier League. But he decided to go to Real Madrid, which begs the question, which is why we are all here, which is why you're watching this video. How is this going to be working out for Real Madrid? What are we getting in Alphonso Davies? And is it an upgrade to Faysal Mendy? Hey, I said to myself, try to do this introduction with a straight face. Well, I couldn't even do it. I couldn't even do it, bro. I couldn't even do it. But listen, we'll talk about everything. We'll talk about Alphonso Davies. And we'll talk about the impact that he's going to have in this Real Madrid team and how I see him fitting, not only for himself, but how it will unlock other players within this Real Madrid team. Before we start, don't forget, as always, to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel. And of course, comment your own thoughts. Listen. Real Madrid, for the past 3 years ago, this is of course the lineup which they won the Champions League against Liverpool in 2021, 2022. Of course, this is the lineup. Forget, of course, my man right here, Mr. Malacrulis. Toni Kroos is retired, so he's no longer in the game. But this is what Real Madrid did. And the reason why that season was so effective on so many notes was because of Vinicius Jr. and his impact and his breakthrough season. This was Vinny's breakthrough season. And of course, Benzema had that crazy season. Thibaut did the madness, and of course, that three-man partnership, iconic partnership. But if we just highlight and just demonstrate one person only, which is Vinicius Jr. The reason why Vinicius Jr. was enjoying his game and was having so much fun is because when your left winger wants to express themselves, it needs to happen from 3 different reasons. And 3 things needs to come to him. Firstly, it's the left back supporting him and overlapping. That's one. Secondly, it's the midfield, specifically the one playing next to him, making sure the pass gets to him and making sure he knows the right passing lanes to Vinicius Jr. And last but not least, it's the striker. It's the striker allowing to drop deep, linking up with him, rotating if he needs to, and making sure he knows where he needs to be. They need to have the perfect relationship. That season as a whole, Vinny had 2 out of the 3 which I just mentioned. He had Toni Kroos helping him so much in terms of understanding where it needs to be, and he had Karim Benzema linking up with him, and we saw the Vinny-Zema partnership where it literally, bro, we won the Champions League and the league because of these 2 and what they did. However, if you now go to this season and you look at Vinicius Jr. last season specifically. We, of course, let's say for argument's sake, this is Vinny last season. Vinny last season relied on 2 things. He relied on Toni Kroos, similar, and relied on Jude Bellingham with the link-up. Because the link-up between Jude and, of course, Vinny last season was pretty good. And we actually had a shape in motion. But if we're looking at this season, for Vinny, the reason why Real Madrid is struggling, and the reason why we don't have an identity and the reason we don't have a system is because the 3 things which I mentioned in terms of the fullback supporting you, the midfield supporting you, and the striker supporting you, Vinny's getting none of that this season. He's getting absolute none of that. And when your left wingers get no support from your left back, from your midfield, and from your striker, you essentially you're getting isolated, bro. You're getting double team, triple team, and there's no options for you to pretty much move anywhere you want to be, and there's no option for you to create unless you do it by yourself. And there's been a couple moments this season where Vinny had to showcase his own individual brilliance and actually create for himself in some of the games. Of course, there is always this one game there where Jude and Cameron and everyone's help, and Mbappe's trying to set up him. But as a summary of this season, Mbappe has not been helping Vinny Jr. in terms of dropping deep, collecting with him, linking up with him, rotating when needs to be. The midfield hasn't done their part, and most specifically, Ferland Mendy has not done his part. Ferland Mendy, this season, do you guys want to know an interesting stat about Ferland Mendy? Ferland Mendy has overlapped 0.3 times this season as an average. That average ranks him 19th in the whole La Liga. Don't even get me started on where it ranks him in the Champions League or in the Europe, because Vinny is not getting no support from his left back, and the left back is the one person that needs to help him. No, I'm not going to pass the ball to you, Furlan. I think what people need to understand, and I think coaches need to understand, when your left back helps, when your left back inverts, when your left back progresses deep, I'm not passing the ball to you. What you're doing to me is you're dragging one person who's marking me. So the fullback, the right back, will pretty much make sure he tracks your run and he makes sure he's with you, which allows me now to pretty much have a free space to expose, because I'm essentially going 1v1. That's what I need. When Ferland Mendy doesn't do that, I'm getting double teamed. That means there is no way for me to do anything unless I do a crazy thing, which Vinny has done a couple times this season. The reason why Alphonso Davies will be so impactful, and the reason why we all know about Alphonso Davies, let me just have a chat with you guys. We all know about Alphonso Davies and what he's done to pretty much his Bayern career. He had 2 exceptional years, the COVID season 1920 and 2021. He basically in those 2 years was the best left back in the whole world. The system that which he had under Hansi Flick and how Hansi Flick used him was so effective in him going up and him even defensively, because his speed combined with his agility, combined with like acceleration, bro, it makes it so difficult for a winger to pretty much beat him, because he is so quick. He can recover that so easily to pretty much beat his man. 21-22, he didn't have the greatest season. That is of course due to the fact that half of the season he was injured with some heart problems. Last season he had Tuchel. Tuchel had no system at all. He played, it wasn't that effective. So far this season, he's having a good season. I rewatched a couple Bayern games just because I want to see how good Alphonso Davies was. And brother, he was positioned quite well, because now under Bayern, they have a system in place under Vincent Kompany. Last season under Tuchel, there was no system. It was just individual brilliance, hope for the best, Carlo Ancelotti vibes. Pass it to pretty much Musiala, pass it to Harry Kane, try for them to do something out of nothing. That's why Alphonso Davies wasn't really used that effectively for the past couple 2 seasons. I'm expecting him under Real Madrid to be a complete different player. And first of all, I'm a big believer of this. You guys might not agree with this. I'm a big believer when a player rejects a couple clubs and when he's got one club in mind, I really think that this person wants to make it happen at all costs. Alphonso Davies has rejected 3 clubs now, specifically an extension with Bayern Munich, Manchester City and Barcelona. He wants Real Madrid, and he wants Real Madrid at all costs, which means when he comes to Real Madrid, he's not going to be a little, they want me, here you go. Brother, that's not the case. We are not offering him what he wants. We are actually, in terms of the wages, we are actually giving him less than what he wants. As a free agent thing. But I love the fact that he's still chosen to come to us. That's one. Secondly speaking, him. Now let me change it now. Him slotting right here is gonna do so much danger to this left-hand side of Real Madrid. And I can't. I'm trying to visualize. I'm trying to fantasize. And oh my goodness gracious. It's going to be so good. Because I'm looking at Vinny Jr. and I'm looking at what he's done over the past 3 years and the player that he's become and the best player in the world that he's becoming. Brother, Alphonso Davies is going to unlock so much more Vinny Jr. that he doesn't even know it himself. Because Alphonso Davies is one of the best attacking fullbacks in the world. And if you combine that with Vinny Jr., that left-hand side, now fullbacks and opponents, they don't know how to mark this and they don't know what to do in the sense of, am I tracking Alphonso or am I staying with Vinny? If I track Alphonso, that means Vinny's got a free lane to expose. Or if I do stay with Vinny, Alphonso Davies has got an absolute free lane. And in 1920 and 1921, Alphonso Davies, in terms of crossing, in terms of his percentage of successful crossing, was over 50%. So let's say over 10 crosses, he would pretty much make half of those, which is a very good number, by the way. A very good. If you're above 50 mark in terms of successful crosses, you're in a good lane. Bro. If you get half of your crosses perfectly, you're in a good spot. And Alphonso Davies has got some good crossing ability, which means the free lane and if you combine that with his speed, he's not just a normal left back, bro. He is one of the most explosive left backs there is in today's game. The most explosive left back in today's game. So I can already imagine the relationship between these two, because it's gonna be like Ronaldo and Marcelo when Ronaldo was playing strictly as a left winger before sometimes inverting in the midfield after his knee injury. But it's gonna be that Marcelo Ronaldo relationship where teams are unsure what the two. Am I tracking Marcelo? Or am I staying with Ronaldo? And this is how things were on the Jose in that early 2 years, and of course that last season on the Carlo Ancelotti before Ronaldo got his knee injury. But those two is gonna form that relationship, which is gonna be absolute deadly. It's gonna be absolute deadly. But not only that, that's gonna help and allow other players in the team to become better. Most specifically, Kylian Mbappe and Jude Bellingham, because they have got options to pretty much find on that left hand side. The reason why sometimes our team is so, let me change the Mendy now. The reason why sometimes our attack seems so slow and it seems with no intent is because we look at this sometimes is essentially like this. This is how in game sometimes we are playing. Sometimes it's like this, where it's only Vinny on the left-hand side. When Vinny inverts, there is no one on the left-hand side. So Jude is looking on the left-hand side. There is no option, which is sometimes Vinny is forced to go on the left-hand side. Jude is sometimes forced to go on the left-hand side. And then sometimes Mbappe goes on the left-hand side. When you actually now have an option on the left-hand side, it will free up so much space in the middle, because now teams are they have to worry now about so many options now. There are so many options. Teams, when they face Real Madrid, they understand Mendy is not an option to mark. They are now an extra man up, because Mendy, why would you mark Mendy? Marking Mendy is like marking an absolute ghost, an absolute haywan on the pitch. There is no reason to mark Mendy. So that's why it's always a man up in so many stages. You always see double teams, triple teams out of nowhere. Now, if you add someone like Alphonso Davies into the equation, hold on. It's going to open up so many chances creation and so many passing lanes for this team, because we have now got options in how to attack. But that only happens with a manager and with the right manager in place, because Carlo Ancelotti, he cannot get Alphonso Davies and be the manager of that. Next season, all of this and what I'm visualizing and what I'm fantasizing, it all works with a different manager. Not Carlo Ancelotti, with a different manager. And I'll make a video about that later this week, before the international break ends, about what I expect Real Madrid to line up with a potential new manager next season, because I do think we are going to get a new manager next season. Now, let's go down to the second part very quickly. Some of the biggest agendas and some of the biggest question marks about Alphonso Davies is defensively. It's his defensive capabilities and his defensive ability in terms of tracking back and helping. Alphonso Davies reminds me is Alphonso Davies is he a lockdown defender? No, he isn't. He's not a locked-time defender. However, as you guys know, and if you guys have been watching this sport for so many years, if you have speed and if you have agility, you can pretty much forget about 50% of your defensive abilities, because the speed is the most important thing. Sometimes when I criticize fullbacks and I criticize defenders for the lack of awareness and the lack of positioning, it's because IQ matters so much. IQ for me is the most important thing, whether that's going forward, but most importantly defensively as well. With someone like Alphonso Davies, this is why he's got a privilege and which other fullbacks doesn't. Kyle Walker had it for so many years, but he used it to his advantage, which is why Alphonso Davies is one of those players. Alphonso Davies, let's say he doesn't track his man. Let's say the man goes behind him. Alphonso Davies has the ability to recover like that because of his speed. Kyle Walker did it with so many years under Manchester City in that successful 4 years winning it in a row and 5 and 6 years in the Champions League. Kyle Walker for me was never a great IQ defender, but the reason why he made it look like in front of the whole world why he was so good is because of his recovery due to his speed. due to his speed. Alphonso Davies has that. Secondly speaking, Alphonso Davies has now the ability, if he goes up, you best believe there is players that can cover for him defensively in Eduardo Camavinga and Antonio Rudiger, where we've got players that can play to his strength. On the Bayern Munich last season, who did you have? You had Dyer. Dyer was starting because the show had a problem with Kim Min-jae. Brother, you had Goretzka. Compare Goretzka to Camavinga. You had Joshua Kimmich playing as a defensive midfielder. What? You had Thomas Müller. What? You had Gnabry. What? Bro, you had players who isn't known to be defensive minded, which is very different to this Real Madrid team. Because Real Madrid, if we go to here, Real Madrid in 2021-2022 relied a lot on their technical ability in that midfield. Real Madrid in this year, technical ability is there, but they're relying a lot on the workhorse ability in terms of every single one of those four midfielders are actual workhorse midfielders, are players physically demanding, which is very different to that midfield, which is why I always say this thing, and I might make a video about that. Our midfield 3 years ago to our midfield this season is so different in so many levels, which is not me saying this is much better, or this is much better, or this is much worse, or this is much worse. No. Both of those midfield have got their own strength and have got their own weaknesses. They have got their own weaknesses. They have got their own weaknesses. They have got that strength. They have got that strength. And the reason why this season it hasn't been demonstrated is because of the manager with a lack of system. It's the lack of system. I'm not saying, by the way, we had a system in here. I'm not saying we did that. But those three had a system on its own because they played so many years together. This is the first year together playing as a collective. So it's hard to do it on the vibes when you don't have an actual system in place. Those three had a system in place way before Carlo came over, way before when it was under Zizou. And trust me, when people say Zidane never had a system in place, you guys are absolutely deluded. You guys didn't watch Real Madrid under that 3-piece season and what we did in that past. Anyway, which is why I'm saying Alphonso Davies, in my opinion, that's going to be so. The idea of Alphonso Davies will be successful under Real Madrid. I'm not worried. I'm not stressed. I do think this is the perfect signing for Real Madrid because now it allows us to go away from Ferland Mendy, to go away from Frank Garcia, who wasn't that bad to be fair, but go away and I'll finally have someone that not only can attack, but most importantly, can help Vinicius Jr. become the player he should really be. But guys, this is my opinion. Let me know down in the comments what your opinion is about this whole Alphonso Davies situation. What you think, whether he'll be a success or a disappointment in your own words. Don't forget to, of course, like the video, subscribe to the channel. We are getting very close to 40,000 and it will be great to achieve it this month before we enter December. And don't, of course, and make sure you, of course, comment your own thoughts. And I'll see you very soon with more content. Peace.